Hey, how's everybody doing, man? We got a little bit of an early bonus live stream this week. It's a special occasion. You know, when you have some special occasions, there's a couple things you got to keep in mind. One, to celebrate. Season 2, oh my goodness, it's like season 2 of the podcast, the greatest podcast in the history of software that's only been out for one season, but now back for a second one. Our hiatus is over, baby. I know all you were dying. We hit you with the 24 episodes last season. 24 episodes, season 1. Season 2 is here. All right. You had about a 2 or 3 month break. We need to get our bearings. Need to go chill. It's out, baby. Episode 1 is out. Season 2. Look forward to weekly episodes for about another 24 weeks. Another 6 months. Then we go on hiatus once again. So get your fix. And not only that, but wait, there's more. If you go, and you'll see in the description below, I'm going to give you my JavaScript course for free. Free JavaScript course, 8 hours of content. It's got like a 4.4, 4.5, something like that on Udemy. I want to celebrate. I want to give back. And if you like it, go ahead and rate it if you wouldn't mind. To those of you who had subscribed, we actually sent out an email today to give you the course for free as well. So lots of cool stuff. So doing a little bit of a bonus live stream this week to answer some questions, talk about the podcast, all that cool stuff. If you didn't know that we had a podcast, shame on you. Shame on you. It's the hottest podcast in the game. The hottest. Bigger than that JRE guy and all that sort of stuff. Oh, man. But season 2, self-taught or not, it's here, baby. It's here. Got a lot of great episodes. I'll give you a little preview of what we got to come. So the first episode, is all about monetizing your side projects. All about all the different ways that you can take a side project and make money with it. We talked last year about how to make money as a developer and go out there and hustle. Today we're specifically episode 1. We're specifically going through all the ways that not only we have monetized projects, but there are to monetize your own side projects and the various types that go with them. So we're gonna hit you with that episode 1. Give you a little sneak peek at what's coming up. We're gonna have an episode about the junior dev struggle. They struggle, as the kids like to say, as the French kids, les struggle. All right. We're gonna have an episode about rejection, TypeScript. Lots of fantastic stuff, man. There's 24 episodes of goodness. 24. Looking forward to it. And a little personal something. You want to talk about episode of monetizing side projects? We got a sponsor. We got 2 sponsors this year to get started. Last year we were in the red. This year we're in the black. All right. A little bit of dedication. You don't just drop 24 episodes to the streets and expect people to be picking it up left and right. I mean, they did, but the streets weren't ready. You know what I'm saying? But season 2 comes around, word on the street is self-taught or not. You know what I mean? So lots of great stuff there, guys. I'm really excited. The podcast is one of those things I just absolutely love doing. Eric and I have differences of opinions on things. Sometimes I think he's dead wrong. Sometimes he thinks I'm dead wrong. And he's doing that. Planning and avoiding burnout tips. So the thing about burnout is it's oftentimes not development, but what you're actually doing in development and your surroundings that it is it. I find that, like for instance, I'll give you instances. I'm burnt out on YouTube. I've decided. Not coding, not whatnot. So what did I do this last week? Well, instead of actually doing all these videos where I'm talking about stuff, I don't really have anything I want to talk about. And so I've been forcing myself to go and talk and deliver, things about stuff I'm knowledgeable about, but I'm running out of knowledge. I have 1,000 videos on the YouTube channel. It's hard to try and do a unique one every single time. So what do? Well, we switch it up. let's talk about, let's do some tutorials. Let's do this. Let's do that. If it's not what you're doing and you can't switch it up, is it in your environment? Is there a relationship that's negatively affecting your work life? Is there your work life that's negatively affecting your personal life? What is it? So JavaScript first before PHP, in my personal opinion. I bought this. Have you guys seen this stuff? It's called Boom Boom. It's I saw it on Shark Tank. Basically, what's in here is like menthol and essential oils, and you're supposed to like smell it to wake you up, like a smelling salt. I don't know if it wakes you up, but it smells good. Probably won't buy it again, but it's a fun little thing. How early in the coding journey should I start learning TypeScript? This is an excellent question. I typically would say right around the time you start working with frameworks. TypeScript is one of my favorite technologies in recent time, and something that I did a conference talk on. I have a course on it. Lots of cool stuff, man. But yeah. And what's interesting is Career Karma reached out to me and said I'm going to be on their list for the top, what do you call it? 50 YouTube dev channels they're going to put out. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, man, it's always fun when you get to release some of your hard-earned work out to the world, right? Because it's so easy to sort of drop a side project and move on to something else and all that sort of stuff. And it's been a real pleasure working with Eric on this, and we're working on a couple other things in the background. So it'll be interesting to see how our partnership flourishes like a flower. All right. Will it be a rose with some thorns, or will it be like a daisy? Was in a class where people didn't know what was JavaScript, what was TypeScript. That is probably the biggest issue where I've interviewed candidates, and this is one of the concerning things where I've interviewed candidates and they talk about JavaScript as if it's TypeScript, and they don't know where one begins, one stops, or they don't know so JavaScript. How do I put this? TypeScript is JavaScript, but JavaScript is not TypeScript because TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript, and it's very strange when you have someone who doesn't know the difference to me. And to me, it means they just don't know that core language very well, which, depending on the organization, is okay, not okay. It's not somebody I would hire for a TypeScript role unless they were, unless they came with like a stellar recommendation and they were just excellent at every other thoughts. Your thoughts on programming paradigms like functional programming, object-oriented programming. So I'm very big on solid principles, which lend itself to object-oriented programming, and I think that's an excellent way to go about it. And TypeScript lends itself nicely to that as well, but that doesn't mean that it's an exclusive thing. Functional programming is nice, and there's not a winner take all when it comes to design principles, paradigms, any of that sort of stuff. So when you said making profit with the side projects, do you mean like business project for side money or Upwork stuff? Like blogs, ways that you can build projects and monetize them. So not like you're out there trying to do freelance work. That's something I typically would advise against. The thing that we should strive for is passive income, or quote unquote semi-passive income, right? Like this is passive income technically, because but it's not really, right? Here I am, here I am, still here. Yeah, so but yeah, about semi-passive, about ways to monetize your packages, your libraries, your websites, your blogs, your YouTube channels, your podcast, your clothing line, all that sort of stuff. Should I continue with React or switch to Angular? So I'd say continue with React. I think React is a much more popular framework. I love this thing, man. I know it looks ridiculous and it looks like I'm doing drugs, but I absolutely love it. I saw it on Shark Tank. Although this one's getting kind of stale. It says it's supposed to be good for 2 weeks, but I've had it like 5 days and it's about out. Is the interview process for remote jobs different than traditional jobs? So what I would say is yes and no. So don't count on any interview process being the same. Something we actually talk about how the interview process is in that junior dev struggle one. We've talked about the process of how your job interview changes depending on where you're at in your career, and some for the better, some for the worse. But it typically depends on the organization that you're working with. Job interviews are very unique to organizations. It's not like a standard one. Now, when it comes to remote, typically what I think is going to happen, the most likely, is that they're going to want senior devs for remote roles. They want someone who can be they want someone who they don't need to baby, they don't need to watch. They want somebody who can do their work on their own with little to no supervision or help. So like the reason I'm able to work fully remote is one, my director is dope and my team is dope, but also two, because I'm able to do my job relatively well. I'm starting a training with a web dev company. I'm a bit stressed. They told me don't learn anything. We teach you from the ground. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? I guess it is getting kind of dark. Thoughts on Flutter? I don't really have any. I met a guy at the conference I was at that loved it, and is a really nice guy, really smart guy. The only thing I really remember about the conversation wasn't even about Flutter, but I was just stunned that he was going to San Francisco. He was stoked. He's a younger guy, and that's sort of who that environment's built for and whatnot. But like, it's like, dude, have you not seen the videos of people shooting up heroin on the streets and shitting in front of Circle K's and stuff? Like, that's the last place I'd want to go. For my first dev job, should I apply to jobs all over the country? I would. I think you'll get a job faster. You'll get, and you'll be able to land a job. You'll typically, you'll have more opportunity, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Oh, they're going to train you? Well, that's dope. That's a pretty rare thing, at least in the States. Is it like an apprenticeship program? I don't know anybody that I'm super close with in the data science field. I remember, so back before I was a developer, there's this guy I worked with when I was a technology trainer, and this was about 4 or 5 years ago. This is like right before I became a developer, and he was a data scientist, and he told me he had 2 years experience. He was getting job offers for $50K more than he made, and like later on that week he negotiated a salary from 100 to like 160, and this was 4 or 5 years ago, and the market has just been continuing to be that hot. So what is in your backpack when working somewhere else? A laptop. Like that's it. There might be a notepad and a pen. a pencil, and one of those books, whichever book I'm reading. That's about it, though. Yes, you should be put willing to relocate on your resume, and depending on the organization, they'll fly you out or they'll do a Google Hangout sort of interview and phone call and all that sort of stuff. That's probably the more likely. I didn't really get started get flying out places until for senior dev roles mainly, or super large companies. I remember interviewing with Microsoft. They flew me out. Do most automation tester positions require to write test strategy and test plan? I would say the good ones do. The ones that you're going to want. The places that are going to hire dev and test sort of positions, those are the places that are going to want you to do it. Yeah. But it's also up to you to do it. It's up to you to go and say, hey, this is what we're doing. If that makes sense. Like this is how I do my job, right? So like if my work came to me and said, listen, we're not going to do testing anymore. Like from a developer standpoint, we're not going to do unit testing or integration testing or anything like that. I'd be like, I do tests before I do my code, right? I do TDD. So this is how I write code. This is how I work. This is how I'm able to be productive, and so on and so forth, right? Is there any software services used to testing or quality check? Actually, testing and quality check are two separate things from the same wheelhouse. So testing, I always do unit tests for all my projects. And I've recently started doing a lot of quality check stuff. If you watched my video on Sunday, which was yesterday, I did a 15 intro to Git hooks using Husky. And in there, I show you how to, when you use your Git commands, to automatically do things like check your branch name, run your test, all that sort of stuff. So typically what I do is I install Husky and I do a couple things. One, I auto-lint the application to fix any that I can. I check the branch name matches the standards. I format the files. I run the test. And I run a spell check. So that's how I just make. So everything that you can automate for a better and stronger and higher quality app, do it. Just automate it. It'll make your life much easier. So watch the video yesterday, and then on, I think Wednesday, I have a video showcasing how to set up a continuation of that video to a degree, showcasing how to set up a spell check in your app. So I do things like that. Should I private throwaway projects on my GitHub or only keep the professional projects? Well, employers don't care. Typically, employers aren't going to care. They're probably going to look, just pin the ones, star the ones that you have on there. Don't worry about the throwaway. And if you're really that self-conscious, a fun little thing that I did was I went through some of these older projects. I looked at the code. And I'm like, damn, this is dog shit. And I cleaned it up. I just went there. I spent a weekend going through some old projects, updating them to use like const and let and clean code principles, added some tests, all that sort of stuff. Not every project's going to be a winner, man. And naturally, as you progress and you get better, your stuff's going to look better, right? Thoughts on Vue versus Angular? I like Vue a lot. Vue's simple. Reminds me a lot of Angular 1. But I definitely like, so like from a quality perspective, I think Angular takes it over React and over Vue. And I love working in Angular, and I like that they force people to use TypeScript, and I think that's part of the reason people are starting to grow on people. From an ease of use, I think there's a little bit of a bigger learning curve with Angular, but nowadays I'm not too worried about either one. I happen to be a fan of Angular though. But from entering the job market, React and Vue would definitely probably be the way I would go versus Angular, just because there's more jobs. And a lot of the jobs in Angular are sort of enterprise, high level, senior dev roles. I have not seen Vue GG on GitHub. I haven't checked out Svelte. So one thing that ends up happening, and I hear Chris Hawks talk about this a lot, and he's very correct, is that after about around the time you hit senior dev, you start caring about things that directly impact you. And these libraries, these frameworks, all that sort of stuff, they don't really matter unless they're fundamentally change things. And there's nothing really, like for instance, I'll take the Husky thing. That's something I went out and I picked up, and I was like, here's something I need to make my life better, to add more quality to my projects and automate some things. And I went, I read the documentation and implemented it. All these other things, that's not necessarily something I need to do anytime soon, I guess. How do you know what to test? I've several blogs, juniors don't write tests, which is probably the more accurate statement, or write too many tests, which is another statement where I think probably not going to really happen. So typically what I like to test is user flow. What does a user do? Well, user clicks this function. What does it do? It clicks, and then it does some logic. And also part of the reason users or junior devs are testing too much is because they write their code in such a way that the scope is larger than it needs to be, and they write their code in such a way that they're not using their code is more tightly coupled than it needs to be, and because of that, they have to write more tests. As you start moving forward, you'll start learning that you'll start seeing how to decouple your code, and you'll start seeing that you have less to test because your code is better. When did you know that you were out of beginner, middle, senior level programming milestones? I guess when I knew I was at a beginner, when I was better than the people I was working at my first job. And I knew I was at a middle when I started getting multiple hundred, six-figure offers from organizations. And God damn, my headset's gonna die. And I knew I was a senior when I was focusing more on principles, ideas, design patterns, paradigms, and people were only offering me senior level roles, I guess. How do you learn to give good time estimates on tests? So, how did I learn? Is this book up here? I might have. Is it downstairs? I gave it to April to read, but she hasn't read it. It's been 3-4 months. In the description below, you'll see a book called The Clean Coder. If you use my link, I'll get like a 3% affiliate cut from Amazon. So please use it to help a brother out. So The Clean Coder is a book about how to be a professional in software development. This is one of the so there's two books that there's a lot of great books, but there's two that I absolutely think every developer should read, and it's helped me increase my salary. So I've been making six figures since 2 years of development, right? So generally speaking, that's pretty fast for a lot of people not living in California or New York. Throw those out. It's pretty fast in that sense. So I've essentially been for the Tampa area paid as a developer that 2 years. Those books I equate to the reason for it. And clean code teaches you how to write code professionally. Clean coder tells you how to act as a professional, how to give time estimates, how to give date time ranges, how to answer questions and not be put on the spot. All this stuff, by the way, we cover in our junior dev struggle episodes coming out in a couple weeks. So you'll love it. No. So clean code and the clean coder, no matter where you're at in your career, it's worth a read. Just getting started, junior, mid, senior, architect. Fantastic book. How can I set up private mentoring with you? So I do private mentoring. You can shoot me an email. I'm typing it in here. I do quite a bit. Mentoring sessions last an hour, and it costs $150. So usually what I like to do is look over your resume, look over your LinkedIn, look at your GitHub, look at your cover letter, because most people are in that I'm looking to jump jobs or I'm looking to move forward, like get a job or jump jobs, and that's usually the where we can do the biggest gains. But lasts an hour, and that takes about 40 minutes usually, and then 20 minutes of questions. But we can talk about whatever you want. I've had people who like, hey, I just want you to give me a real mock interview. Pretend you were interviewing me for a senior level role, or mid level or junior level. Ask the same questions you normally ask, and let me know, and see how it goes. Thoughts on specializing front or back end? I specialize in the front end. That's my skill set. I would say it's so crazy because like I'd say that there's a lot of front end jobs, but the front end pay. So here's why I would say specialize in the back end. I think high paying front end jobs, there's a lot of them, but there's not as many high paying back end jobs. I think generally speaking, you're going to make good money working in the back end, but there are bad paying front end jobs. And I think that pay range of like, let's say you could make 50K as a front end dev and 150K as a front end dev. And part of that is just that there's a little bit of disrespect for it, even though the front end's complexity has gotten crazy in the last couple of years. If I started all over again, what stack would I start with? Whatever they're teaching at boot camps. That'd be what I would start with. Oh man. But all right, guys, quick little live stream, quick little 30-minute one. Again, thank you so much. I hope you guys are looking forward to season 2. It's already live on this channel or on our website, selftaughtornot.com. Please sign up for our email list over there as well. We send out some free stuff from time to time, some knowledge as well, and check it out. New episodes coming out every week for about 6 months. Pretty exciting stuff. Really enjoying it. We got some sponsors. So it's not easy hosting these things. I think last season cost us about $200-300. Hey, for the people, all right. We got to educate, right? But yeah, man, very excited about the podcast. One of my favorite things that Eric and I do, and lots of cool stuff. Check it out. It's on the channel. Go to selftaughtornot.com. See what you think. I'll see you guys next time. Oh, and free JavaScript course in the description below. It's good for the next 3 days till 2/20. So check it out. Bye, guys.